Folks, welcome to an all new So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan. This is your Saturday afternoon episode, hopefully. This is a Summer House Southern Charm recap. We're going to talk a lot about thoughts and feelings in regards to both of these shows because both of these shows, there's not tons of meat on the bone. And for Summer House, I feel that is completely acceptable. For Southern Charm, my God. Now, Southern Charm, the entity. If you are listening, Southern Charm, the entity, I want to not apologize for my statements. This is tough love here, okay? This is tough love. You are a show that I will continue to watch. I'm not going anywhere. Obviously, we can all see that. But the audience does not deserve the season finale that we had. You cannot have the crux of the season finale be on relationships that have not fully fleshed out with side characters that you've not fully established. I mean, we have this Ryan guy, and by the way, love the name, but all of a sudden he's, they're using him as like a plot point or a middleman between JT, Vanita, and JT's barber. We've got a barber involved. And we should have ended this season with Shep and Scheana in the Bahamas. We should have ended right there. Or we should have ended with Craig and Austin hugging on the beach, crying, drunk crying, talking about substance abuse issues. We should have smashed cut to the scene that they had in the finale with Paige and Craig driving to the airport, where they were talking about when the next time they were going to see each other, and Paige saying, maybe this is the last time you see me. And then we should have smashed cut to the picking up cameras to Craig, letting Shep and Austin know that Paige dumped him. That should have been the season finale. We did not need these extra 2 episodes. So what we got was filler. And by the way, the reunion I'm looking forward to, because the reunion, they're all going to be out there on couches. Andy will steer the conversation in some sort of direction. But at the end of the day, that's what we want. We just want them talking about what we see. I don't need a big summer soiree, especially if you don't have a lot of, it feels like some of these people are like, I guess I have to show up. Like Craig's like, I guess I have to show up. It feels, and I guess you have the Shep Molly hookup, which feels so forced, but also good on you, Southern Charm, for letting us know that they banged that night. Like, Molly, come on, girl. Molly, you in danger, girl. Where Summer House, not strong storylines either, but you have enough. And like I've always said with Summer House gets by on vibes. It's vibes. I will put up with watching Paige and Sierra in a bed on their phone. I will watch that. It's almost atmospheric. It's like ASMR, where I'm like, okay, I'm used to this. I like this. And you, of course, have the, Carl getting his groove back, how Carl got his groove back storyline. And you got the Jesse, Lexi, and Jesse is just one big walking gland. And I'm worried for all of you women out there that I am seeing pro Jesse. In fact, Watch What Happens Live, Amanda Batula and Sierra Miller were on. And one of the questions of would you like to see Jesse and Sierra knock boots? And Amanda was like clapping for that. What are we clapping for? I don't know how much, this does not mean he's overall a bad person, but I don't know how much more obvious Jesse has to make it that he is looking for a high body count. He is literally telling you women. And it's like, okay, cool. Why would you ever encourage Sierra to hook up with Jesse? And then it makes me think that we don't have enough information, the audience. I'm like, well, maybe they're just not putting in scenes where he's like a fucking saint. And this is a bit where he just comments on his girlfriend's Instagrams that they have big juicy asses. But it's charming when he does it. He's the Tom Hanks of sleazy Instagram comments on females' posts. And don't even get me started on Wes Wilson. These are great casting. You can't argue in the casting. I want these men to go nowhere. They are locked into the Summer House. But Wes has got to chill, man. And I don't mean on the show. I mean off the show. Rebecca sent me a TikTok 2 days ago where it was at a St. Patrick's Day party, and some lady's just filming her friend or something, and then all of a sudden you see a guy like Wes Wilson, you see the back of him, and all of a sudden this guy bumps up to him and like hands him something, like but like really sly, like for it. I used to work at a nightclub. This is the only reason why I know how these things like he allegedly looked like he was giving West a substance of some sort, right? A substance. And I'm like, dude, you got to be careful, man. You are on TV. I know you're young, you're living the high life, you're going to live forever, all of that jazz. But my God, man, there are eyes everywhere. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. I don't know if you guys know the TikTok I'm talking about, or if you're even plugged in a really horrible way like we are. But also, I don't want these men going anywhere. And of course, in Summer House, we have that crossover of Craig Conover. So Craig Conover on Southern Charm gets a hero edit a little bit this season, not as much as he usually gets, because in the reunion, we see that everybody's afraid of Craig, which I can completely understand. And I've been afraid of Craig at times. The thing that really is funny about Craig, too, is that I'll watch some of his, like, not motivational speeches, but he'll show up at these, like, home shows because of his brand. And, like, I always am, like, kind of leaned in for what he's saying, and it makes a lot of sense. And he seems so well-adjusted, and he seems like he has a real good handle on his emotions. But I know that not to be the case if you watch these shows or you listen to the people around him. Who are saying that they're scared of him, or like the Kyle Craig thing. And by the way, I know Kyle, a bit of a crybaby, a crybaby that I love, but a crybaby nonetheless. And he wants Craig to have that conversation with him about spritzers. And Craig's like, no, dude, not right now, dude. I'll do it when I'm ready. And, Kyle's outside trying not to cry. He's like, that little whiny bitch. I can't believe it, man. Which is always funny. I always point this out of like people saying that women are more emotional. Let me present to you Summer House and then come back to me if women are more emotional. Are you kidding me? But Southern Charm, the finale, there was no reason to... The only thing that I saw was like advertising being sold. That was what I was like, well, I guess you can slap commercials on this. And this isn't the cast's fault, but it is... I hate to say this because I know they have a hard job, but it's like production had to know this is a weak end to this season. You had a great start to this season where, remember, Austin and Craig kind of, Shep said that those guys abandoned him. He went and did ayahuasca, and it was like 3 years of therapy. We had all of this kind of great momentum, and you have new characters like Molly and Sally, but Southern Charm, I think we have to just drop the pretenses and just call it Southern Bros. Southern Bros, because the women will always take a backseat on Southern Charm to the men. And that's who we focus on because we've invested so many years with these men. And the women, not interchangeable per se, but their stories take a backseat. And we've gone through so many cast changes with the women, but it's the men that remain constant on Southern Charm. So, how do we get more of that? If that's what people are interested in, we need to stop pretending that it's anything more than just following these 6 testicles around. This show is not bad, but the finale was bad. And then you have JT and the JT Vanita storyline. I feel like if I had all of the day planners in the world, I still don't necessarily fully understand what happened, what the crime, when the date was, when you started going out, when you had a girlfriend, JT, who did you lie to? Vanita, it says at the end, Vanita and JT started dating after filming, but then I think he had a girlfriend while they were dating. It's a little confusing, but also they also do a really poor job in making you care. We care about Craig and Paige, and that's why that sells. So you are going to get that storyline in some way, even if it's a 3-minute picking back up camera scene, which it was like, dude, I would have watched 30 minutes of that conversation. 3 minutes? We get more of that on just a random podcast. A non-cast member, we get more content than that. Like, come on, you have all those people there. Make it a 23-minute scene. It feels like the answer is right there and you are not taking it. And of course, that storyline is going to spill over into Summer House. So they're going to keep hitting that scene over there. Remember, we have a picking back up of cameras on the Summer House finale, which we're probably 10 or 11 episodes away from. So this thing is going to continue because it's a story that people are interested in. Paige is insanely popular. Craig is really popular. So that's what you want to focus on, right? But I think I was just watching Southern Charm, and I think it is really a weird place to be that you have to watch the after shows on Peacock. They do this great. I mean, I'm so in favor of these after shows that they do, and they're like 20 minutes, and it's usually the cast at a later date talking about the episode. And you usually get one or two really good nuggets of not wisdom, I'm not going to call it wisdom, but information out of those where I'm like, God, why don't we just fold that into the show somehow? Like, it's like a director's commentary track on a DVD that we're getting. And I love the additional supplemental materials, but you also have to realize 3/4 of the audience are not going to watch this, don't even know it exists potentially. But in some ways, it's more exciting than the actual finale itself. And I think that's where it's dangerous. You don't want to get to a point where the content that is made based on the show is becoming way more exciting than the content itself. Am I crazy? Am I the old man shaking his fist in the sky going, ah? Yeah, a little bit, sure, but come on. Be old men with me. Weren't you frustrated watching that finale? Weren't you like, and this is like last night I got to go to the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles. They had a finale screening for Severance season 2, and pretty much the entire cast was there afterwards for a talkback. And it was such a great night. Tremel Tillman, who plays Milchick, came out with a marching band, the USC marching band. It was just magical. And I'm not just saying Severance, but narrative storytelling or scripted shows. This is like the first time in a long time where it's, my scripted intake is starting to be almost matching my reality show intake. And it's always been reality heavy for me. But now there is so much thought put into these shows. I'm talking about White Lotus. I'm talking about Severance. I'm talking about the Karen Reed 5-part docuseries that you can stream on Max. I'm talking about the Fox Hollow murders that you can stream on Hulu. There is so much, The Pit on Max, Paradise on Hulu. There are all these shows with interesting premises, interesting ideas, and so much thought and care put into them that it is starting to make certain aspects of reality television look bad. Now, we don't need to get rid of one. We can have both. There is a world in which both exist, and they do right now. But will you go with me on this? Will you at least admit with me that maybe we can make some of these reality shows better? Maybe we can put more effort into the making of these shows. And I know they churn them out. I know that it's a business. I know all of that. But when it works, it fucking works. Sandoval season Vanderpump Rules, this past season of Salt Lake City, this season of The Traitors, last season of The Traitors. With time and care, you know how much effort is put into The Traitors? How much stuff we don't see? How that thing is edited within an inch of its life? And I mean that as a compliment, with the music, with the scoring, with Alan Cumming, the host, with the cast choices. It is beautiful in the way all of these departments are working together to create this product. And you can tell. But you can then tell, because we have so much good television right now, when you're watching something that is slapped together. And I shit you not, go back. I'm not telling you to go back and watch the Southern Charm finale, but I will say there were moments of that finale where I was like, did they just crank up the music to a 10? Because it felt like they were trying to make you believe you were watching something so good. It was like, dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, it's just Molly and Taylor talking. Like, it's just Molly and Taylor talking. But the music was leading you into believing like, da, 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 da. And I'm like, is somebody going to die in the scene? That's what I felt. I was like, holy shit, this might be the most intense scene I've ever seen, until you started paying attention to actually the content itself. And then you're like, no, this is standard. This is a middle season episode. This is not a finale. And I know it's hard because you're supposed to capture the reality, right? The reality. So, well, this is what was just happening. But I think we need to start thinking more, or production or these, and I think in certain ways they do, but sometimes you got to think your way out of this box. You got to think your way of like, how do we elevate this material? We have these characters that people care about, that people keep showing up for. But like Miss Patricia, God, I love her so much, but she shows up for like 5 minutes to make her appearance. And then she's like, I got to get out of here. I'm going to go. Let's go. And it's like, it's awesome that we see you, but you've also, there's got to be action. We always want you to show us, don't tell us, but it just felt like there wasn't a lot to show or tell in this finale. So and I guess with Summer House, to me, Southern Charm has never set itself up as a show that can get by on vibes. It's usually storyline. Where Summer House, like I said, there are storylines, but you cannot argue that it's also just vibes. Like if you look at the actual dialogue, it's a lot of puttering around. It's a lot of jumping into the pool. It's a lot of laying by the pool. It's a lot of setting up for the party. It's a lot of trying to go in with that wonky door that never seems to be fixed, which, by the way, if you're the owner of that house, like at this point, are you not fixing it on purpose? Are you trying to get Bravo to pay for it? Like, what is the holdup on getting the door fixed? Because it seems to be getting worse. Our friends at Quince makes the shopping experience so easy. All you have to do is go to quince.com. In fact, I just did it right now. And you're immediately hit with everything you need. New arrivals, bestsellers, women, men, home, baby and kids, travel, lookbooks, corporate gifting. They have it all, and they make it so easy. Now, elevating my style used to mean breaking the bank. But with Quince, I get high-end, versatile pieces at prices I can actually afford. Now I can upgrade my style by snagging killer luxury items that sync with my vibe and my wallet, and it will for yours too. Quince has all the must-haves, like Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50, iconic 100% leather jackets, and comfortable pants for every occasion. The best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They do this by partnering directly with top factories. Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passing the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices along with premium fabrics and finishes. How do you not love that? Now, you guys know by now I have the Quince blue beautiful button-up shirt. I have the blue sports jacket. Are you sensing a theme here? But I also have the cashmere socks. I've also bought gifts for my sister from Quince. They truly do have it all. You can trust them completely. So, indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/sobad for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/sobad to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/sobad. I'm just letting you know the door does not seem to be working, and it's getting worse season to season. And I don't know if eventually the door is just going to come off and then you're not going to fix it, but I get worried. And nobody's bringing the packages in. There was a huge pile of Amazon packages, but that's what I'm saying. Summer House is that show where you notice these little details. You're like, looking at these Amazon packages right now. And for some reason, it can get by on that. It can get by on me looking at packages or me watching Paige scroll on her phone or even lay in the middle of an inflatable boat at Carl's pirate pool party. It can get by on that. But I just want the overall health and excitement of the reality show genre to keep reaching new heights. But I do think it's like, man, with the rise of these fictional narrative storytelling shows, we're at a peak, I think. Like, listen, the world is burning in a lot of ways. But in terms of television, in terms of that art form, we have it better than we've ever had it. And I know I'm talking, I realize that we've had Sopranos, The Wire, Lost. I realize we've had so many Breaking Bad, so many amazing shows in this last 2 decades. But where it's a lot of really good television. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to really focus in, hone in, and really figure these shows out. 10 seasons of Southern Charm, I get it. It's repetitive, but we can get to a new peak. I really do believe in the overall show, but I just thought, man, we are limping at the end of this season. We are limping. And I do, like I said, the reunion, I think, is going to be really fun and good to watch. I'm really excited for the everybody's scared of Craig moment that we see in the trailer. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking ahead to next season. What are we gonna do? Like, is Shep gonna, open a megalodon tooth factory? Is he gonna continue to see Bang Molly, the new cast member? Where does Sally fit into all of this? I mean, Sally's storyline in the last couple of episodes is she's getting her breast implants removed, which was like cool, but like she has a boyfriend. I don't know if they're still together. Does that get thrown in the mix? Madison is pregnant with child right now. How, Madison, a really fun character, but how do we get her into the action when she has two kids and she has a husband that just battled cancer and won? And that's very real. That's real life, man. But this is Southern Charm. How do we do that? And maybe we do that by just like stop. Because I see a lot of people like, oh, I love Molly and Sally. Great, but it's gotta work. It's got to work. Yeah, like you got to give them something to do, or something's got to happen in their life. And with the JT Vanita stuff, it was so murky, and the cast seemed to really dislike JT so much that JT didn't show up to half of the things. And this guy was out there working. And I'm not complimenting JT, but I'm just saying this is the kind of mess that reality shows make good television out of. And all of those men have been, at one point, the same mess that JT has been. If you don't believe me, go back and watch earlier seasons or go on TikTok and watch earlier clips. It's right all out there. Okay, that's my opening salvo, my beginning monologue of where we're going with this. What do we start with, guys? Southern Charm or Summer House? We'll probably start Southern Charm just because I think this is going to be very quick. Because I feel like, and then Craig tells Austin and Shep that Paige broke up with. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This will probably be minimal, and we'll throw in a little bit of the Southern Charm after show. Also, I'm going to read some Patreon comments because come join our Patreon community. I think you even join up for free if I'm not mistaken. Patreon.com/so bad it's good. But we put out a question about what you thought of Southern Charm Summer House. So we'll read some of those comments as well. How are you guys doing, by the way? I got started on such a fiery rant that I didn't even ask, and I feel so horrible. Are you guys good? How was the week? Did it treat you kindly? Are you okay? Are you happy? Are you scared? Where are we on the emotional makeup this weekend? I hope you're good. I wish I could talk to each of you individually. I wish maybe we'll do that one day. It might take a little bit of time, but we'll try to fit it in. But we've had a week of really good, solid shows that you can always, if you are feeling a little out of sorts, you can always turn one of those on and just listen to me blather. And hopefully it'll bring you some peace, or it'll bring you that feeling of like, who's this jackass? And that sometimes will make you feel better about yourself. So either way you're listening or watching this, I think it's a win-win. So this episode of Southern Charm is season 10, episode 15, Arrested Development, a great TV show, and also a great band. Shout out to Mr. Wendell. The description the cable company gives us is Madison and Ryan host a black tie summer soiree as tensions in the group run high. They should have just described this as, hey man, we tried. We said we had to deliver 15 episodes and here it is. So we start off with scenes from the entire season. They try to fill some time that way. And then we open up with Vanita and JT meeting based on this haircut because JT, Ryan, a cast member that has not been fully developed and we've not seen a lot of him. So all of a sudden he's popping in at the end of the season with some accusations. He's doing it very kindly. So it's hard to put him in this like evil guy place because he doesn't seem like an evil guy. He seems really clean cut. He seems like a dark-haired Ken doll, but you can't really pin evil. It's not like, oh, this guy's cunning and trying to like get reality show TV time. It feels like it might have been forced into this storyline, but he went to the same barber as JT. I guess there's only one barber in Charleston, and said, oh, some black girl has a crush on me, JT told the barber. And it came back to Ryan, and then Ryan told Leva told Vanita, and then Leva confronted JT, and JT called the barber, has the barber saved in his phone, and was like, what's up, bro? Did I say some black girl? And he's like, no, you said like a pretty black girl. And you didn't, like it kind of clarified that it wasn't as damaging as potentially Ryan was putting it out there. But as we see at the end scene, is Ryan was like, listen, I just don't really trust JT and I consider you a friend. So I am concerned about you having feelings for him because in the Bahamas, it was obvious that Vanita had feelings for JT, according to Ryan and Molly and the rest of the people. Now, in the opening scene, you can just really tell, like even in Vanita's talking heads, is that it seems like her feelings for JT has like tripled, quadrupled throughout the season because he's like, I'm not gonna throw this away for that, and I'm not that, like this girl has a name, and then goes and meets JT and first gasses him up by saying his haircut looks good. I mean, I guess it does look. My hair is wavy, so there's only like one thing you can do with it, and that's just like pray for the best. But Vanita just it's interesting in the terms of language she's using, like well, we can just never go back to that barber again. And I just thought, oh, I get it, like, oh, at the end of the day, let's just not go back to that barber. But the we was so telling of like already speaking as a we. And you could say, oh, she's just speaking as friends, but no, it's more than that. Like sometimes people, men and women, when they are forming a relationship, will start using the we of it all. And it's like, I don't know if there is a we yet, but you can tell that she wants there to be a we. And so, and by the way, JT is accepting of all of this behavior. He is almost inviting this in of like, I just want to make sure that we're okay. So in a sense, yeah, leading her on in a way. I think he is attracted to Vanita. I think he is interested in Vanita, but I don't think he wants to be in a full-blown relationship with Vanita. These guys on Southern Charm. I mean, the men that have come before him have bedded probably thousands of women based on this one show. I mean, the Tourism Bureau of Charleston literally has these three guys on the cover going, hey, come sleep with us. We own our own places, thanks to Bravo and NBC Universal. But anyways, Ryan seems ill-equipped to be able to handle this storyline. You could just tell we gave it to a rookie. And no offense to Ryan, because I would be even worse than Ryan. But JT is just such a mess. So he's fighting back. He's like, I mean, even if this was 1% true, it's just still too much. The group is so toxic. The group is toxic, Vanita. I don't know if I can be at the summer and soiree party with you. The group is too toxic. Now, there are two options that you can go with in thinking about this. A, agree. It is too toxic. Yeah. Welcome to reality television. You knew what you signed up for. Stop playing dumb. Everybody that goes on reality TV, I need them to stop playing dumb yesterday. Second option is I'm not going to go to the party because I do have some faults and I do not want to be questioned on that. But he's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, Vanita. It irks me. I told this barber there was a beautiful girl, not some black girl, and then it got spun in this game of telephone. And Vanita is like, listen, I know that's not the way you talk. I know that's not who you are. And like really putting herself on the line, standing up for JT and believing everything that he says. And then he kind of like even like stokes the fire a little more and just says, I thought I almost lost you. And that's a fucking line right out of The Notebook. Like, that's a rom-com line. That's a romantic drama line. I thought I lost you, Vanita. That's insane. Because a girl hears that and is like, whoa, this dude is head over heels for me, right? So JT's not going to go to this party. He doesn't want to give it oxygen. But I'm like, we need a television show. We needed the JT element in that final scene. And that irked me because like JT, if you're going to be Mr. Honest, you got to face the music, good or bad. That's what all of these men, they start acting like they're like in the military and that they're putting their lives on the line for reality TV. Well, then do it. Do it. I don't know. We go to Madison's. She seems like she's having a perfect morning. Her lights are attached to Google and it like gives like some soft purple mood lighting. Her and her husband, Brett, like a Greek god, they're brushing their teeth together. Just a perfect, beautiful, aesthetically beautiful couple. We have conversations of one venue backed out, so they have found a new venue. So Ryan and Madison are talking about this. I will say there was somebody on TikTok as well that said the venue that they held this out was a former plantation. I don't know if that is true, but, it is Charleston. And, we've had many seasons of Southern Charm kind of try to face Charleston's past in a way. And it's, remember that about 3 or 4 seasons ago, but it doesn't get brought up as much anymore. Now we have a scene with Shep and Whitney. Now listen, Whitney is a producer on this show from the beginning. He started this show with Thomas Ravenel. Yeah, you remember him, Thomas Ravenel. But Whitney comes in it's like Whitney, Whitney will goose a situation. I think all of the dudes, I think all of the cast members uh really want Whitney's affection. She's like the Lisa Barlow of Southern Charm, where everybody's like, Whitney, look at me, Whitney, look at me. And I can't tell if he's a producer, he has a lot of money, it can be a bit of both. But I will say, Whitney's spray tan or self tanner that he used in this scene. I'm new to self tanner and spray tanning, and I did it once a couple weeks ago, so I'm an expert. But I noticed that it cuts off right at his clavicle. And so I spent a good portion of this scene just looking at where the tan ended, where I was like, oh, he's got to get on that neck area right there. But he comes in glasses, he meets up with Shep. And I will tell you, don't tell me there's no growth in these men, because Shep, he orders like a fried chicken salad, but he asks if it can be grilled with hot sauce. And I was like, these are baby steps. It may seem small to us, but for him, this is huge. This guy's looking after his health. Of course, he still looks like he has a beer with him. Also, I got into an argument with Rebecca about this, and I am saying that this is not true, but she says that she thinks Whitney might have a lace front, a wig of sorts. And I do not believe this to be true. I spent a good portion of my rewatch looking for elements of a lace. I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'm like, Jeremy Piven. You know, I don't think it's a wig in any form, because I think if it was a wig, you'd potentially make it look fuller, unless it's like that reverse psychology lace front wig that you're like, oh, there's, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, that's what I was paying attention to. Anyways, during this scene, it's, Whitney kind of trying to be there for his friend Shep, of like, it's better to have loved and lost than to have not loved at all, in regards to Scheana. It was like, yeah. And it was also the best storyline of this actual season once we got to the Bahamas. But this is a nice softer side of Whitney in regards to this. But I'm so bummed. I hope Scheana makes some surprise appearance at the reunion, because the show really flew, and I'd love to get to the bottom of it. We have so many shows about mystery. I keep regarding Severance. There's so many mysteries, but those mysteries are so well thought out. When you get mysteries in reality TV, it's not nearly as good, because you have this timeline of Vanita and JT, or you have what really happened between Shep and Scheana. We shouldn't have these sort of mysteries on here, because we should be able to easily explain away the mysteries, because we can just ask the characters, or the other characters in the scene should be like, what really happened? So there feels like a bit of trickery that we're watching, right? But Whitney says, watching you do this, it seemed like a little out of character for you, which, subtext was, it seemed like you were a bit of a pussy. And that's not Whitney, buddy. He says, I think it's up to you, though, Shep. This black tie thing, you need to find a hottie, dude. Just bros being bros. This is like the Southern bros. Hey, man, better to have loved than to have not loved at all. But a little out of character for you. I'm a little disappointed. Also, you better be banging a hottie at this summer soiree. And we need it on camera. I'm here to tell you. But he's like, you got to live up to the legend of Shepard William Rose. So Shep is feeling the heat right now. He's like, I should bring a date. And so it ends up that, like, this is probably pre-planned, that they're going to call Molly. And he's like, hey, Molly, remember me from the Bahamas? And you kind of started to have a crush on me? And how dare you, the people that said that Molly didn't start off this season having a crush on Whitney? I'm not saying she was fully in love with Whitney, but if you remember the first episode, it said she had a night with Whitney, and then she was upset when Whitney brought the model girl to that horse function at the end of the first episode. Remember, like the skinny model girl? She was like, oh. And it was Whitney, and then like got invited to Miss Patricia's for Easter, and Whitney made fun of her because she was like eating cake. Let them eat cake. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the season, Molly is like, well, I'd let Shep do things to me. I'd let him, feel around. And people were pushing that. And I can't tell if they're pushing that as friends or if they're pushing that as storyline. And that's the blur you have of like, oh man, I guess we gotta make TV. So would you put your penis in her? And also, how dare Molly? We have a flashback of him reading, her reading the text he sent to Scheana about, I heard it from your little freckled lips. That's an insane text that lives in a pantheon. That episode alone is, it's in my top 10 of this year. So I know this show has the potential to keep doing things like that. But Molly reads this and was like, I think it's poetry. Oh my God. And I'm like, Molly. Shep says, I can't imagine like hooking up with somebody else at this moment. Yeah, you can, Shep. Well, why don't we just sit here for 30 seconds until you can conjure up that image? Because I think you can. Like, I think you'd be like, I can't imagine hooking up with someone at this moment. Oh, wait a sec. I just did. Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Oh, like doggy style? Oh, yeah, I could totally imagine. I love when somebody's like, oh, man, I'm still out of practice, dude. Like, no, you are not. Liar. But Shep says, I'm concerned, I don't want to fuck with that girl's head, man. But maybe she wants something more casual. Shep trying to encourage himself into being a lech. She's like, well, but maybe she's emotionally adjusted, and my kindness she will take as just a mutual wanting to touch each other. Like maybe that's, when he's like, man, we got a show to do, Shep. That's how you should take it. But no, but when he goes, hey, but if you're not serious, the last thing, she needs is, And then Shep goes, well, Molly did say that she has only had sex once in 2.5 years. And Whitney goes, Jesus. He's like, once in 2.5 years. I do that every day for 2.5 years. And then we flash back to the Bahamas scene after Scheana didn't show up on that boat trip. And Shep was like, wait, do you get urges, Molly? What do you do? And then Molly, going, well, I masturbate. He's like, oh, yeah. High five. Oh, my God. You touch yourself. That's so erotic. Oh, hell yeah, brother. Oh, I mean, girl. Oh, I didn't want to say that. You masturbate? Cool. Me too, dude. Oh, my God. Are we meant to be? But anyways, Whitney kind of says this like moment of concern for her. And then he's like, hey, just go for it. So they call her and she's like, yeah, I'll go to the summer soiree with you. And so how Shep got his groove back is fully in motion. And now we have the scene where I think they should have really focused the finale on is Paige and Craig driving to the airport or in Charleston. And he's like, you came a day early, chicken. That was our bonus day we had. And Paige just looks she's like, that's so true. She has her phone in her hand. And it's a lot of traffic. And she's like, oh, man. And Craig's like, well, we might not get you to the airport if we run out of gas on the bridge. And you can just tell she's like, you better have fucking gas in this car. Paige says, didn't we one time we were driving to an airport and I said, no, I don't want to go. Let's turn around. And Craig immediately gets happy. Yeah, chicken, you did do that. And it was late into the drive, too. And Paige said she was having anxiety, so she wanted to stay longer. And those are those beautiful moments in relationships, right? When, like, everything's working and you're like, oh, my God, we really have something. This is amazing. So there's a little bit of sadness, I think, because you relate it back to your own life and have those moments in relationships where you're like, this is really something. And we're not there any longer. So it's a nice thing and a sad thing to remember those times. And that's the time Craig wants to stay in. Those are the moments. Like now Craig wants Paige to like want to turn around every time. And I think the obvious / ridiculous conversation we're having is, the one that Paige has to keep explaining of, I didn't plan for my career to take off the way it did. I've wanted this forever and I'm going to do it. If a man did that, you'd be like, all hail Elon Musk. But if a girl does that, we do have a different set of standards of like, he seems like such a good man. You will regret it one day. I don't think Paige will, but who knows? Life is long. And what I find interesting on the Summer House after show, it has more information where it does seem Craig, for as well adjusted as he speaks and seems on, shows or talk shows, or he seems so well adjusted, he was putting a lot of pressure on Paige. Like he does seem not the jealous boyfriend, like trying to not be the jealous boyfriend, but in a way providing more anxiety for her than she was already dealing with. I mean, there's some really interesting things that they say on that after show where I was like, oh, dude. Anyways, Paige is complaining about the riffraff from Charleston on the planes to New York, and they all want to talk to her. I just stare at my phone. I just want to order food to my door. Then they try to pick out schedules. She's like, I'm going to LA and, can't do it. He's like, busy girl, chicken. He's like, usually we're a little more in sync. And Paige looks really disturbed and she goes, in sync. And we can only read because she looks like she's deep in thought in this of like, do I really want to be in this relationship? And this is pre-Italy trip. So this is pre the first episode of Summer House. So you really see, if you want to pay attention to the timeline, you see that this obviously wasn't a surprise to either of them. Maybe Craig did not want to see the signals, but we are seeing the signals right here, right? And Craig's like, we never go more than a week, chicken, without seeing each other. So when am I going to see you, chicken? And Paige is like, never. This is the last time you're ever going to see me. Dun, dun, dun. And you just don't know it. Craig's like, that's not funny, chicken. And then Paige goes, oh, chicken. Obviously, the chicken industry is for way better off without Craig and Paige together. I don't need this many reminders of chicken. So Paige is dropped off at the airport. They hug. The camera holds on this moment, like almost the cameramen knowing this isn't going to last more than 3 months. So let's get some tight shots and them hugging. We'll be able to use this later. But that's where I feel like the finale should have been the Bahamas, that scene right into the cameras picking up scene. But instead, we have the summer soiree. We have Madison and Ryan. Ryan looks spectacular in a tux. Madison looks beautiful. I want to give them their compliments, but it does seem like a very humid, hot day in Charleston. When I was in Charleston for Sophie's wedding, it was really nice weather, but I know I would not do well there over the summer. Do you ever do that as you get older, where you watch reality television? Not that you're ever invited to these places. It'd be like, I think I would do good in Ireland. I think, you watch the traders and you're like, I think it's I think it's a nicer climate for my body when I get to these humid places. Really bad. I officiated a wedding in Kansas, Olathe, Kansas, or Overland Park this past summer, right? And it was such a beautiful wedding, and I was so lucky to be asked to do this, and a beautiful couple. And I did it also because I wanted to go back and see my childhood home. And it was kind of like a little bit of not saying goodbye to my mom, but just trying to remember memories of my mom and my childhood, because I spent 12 years in Kansas. And it was so fucking humid. Like, it was so humid. And I was just like, I was thinking about little Ryan. I was like, did little Ryan sweat as much as big Ryan sweated? And I just was like, damn, thank God I'm in California sometimes, right? So Ryan's husband is there, Madison's husband is there, and they're saying the venue is beautiful, guests are arriving soon, but it just feels like a whimper, not a bang, right? Craig, we do the round robin of people getting ready. Craig's like, why is it always black tie? Why is it always, he's putting on his tuxedo. Vanita's having the dog pick out her outfit. We have Taylor getting made up. Let's have some tough conversations about casting too. Taylor, I think, is still feeling the after effects of having to film with the boyfriend that she had for 3 years. It is a wild scenario if you really think about how warped it is, reality television in that sense. But where are the connectors? We have Taylor and Molly in a fight about a relayed message to Austin about seeing Molly's boobs, right? That was a big scene for this episode. But I'm trying to say, who is essential to this cast? Is Taylor essential to this cast, or is she going to go the way of the dodo bird like Olivia Flowers was last season? Once the Austin relationship was fully done, Southern Charm cut him loose. Is Taylor going to suffer that same fate? And maybe should Taylor go to Southern Hospitality in some? Wasn't she selling energy drinks at Southern Hospitality one episode? Austin's getting ready. Craig comes over, just bros. He's like, I missed this, bro. You coming over getting ready. It feels like prom. High five. I bought some of your favorite beer. Craig lets us know our friendship has been a little bit of a roller coaster, but you got to keep the ride going. I love that Craig, double down on this friendship, man. Marry Austin, dude. He will never do you wrong. He's so afraid of you that I think he will treat you like the princess that Craig is. But Craig says, hey, listen, Austin and I have too much history to call it quits. Not me and Paige, but me and Austin have too much history. So now Austin lets us know that he got a text from Taylor yesterday and said that Molly was trying to start trouble with the other women, saying in the Bahamas, I keep wanting to say Jamaica, in the Bahamas, that Austin was drunkenly saying, show us your tits, when they were swimming on the boat ride. And we flash back to Austin going, show us your tits. But Taylor presented it as, oh, she's going to make trouble for you. She's going to potentially try to ruin your relationship that you have. Yes, Austin is in a relationship this season. We've only seen her 1 or 2 times, but they're going slow, right? And Craig hears this information and he goes, well, boobs are boobs. Craig, sometimes you hit it out of the park. I agree with Craig right here. Boobs are boobs. Congratulations. But it's just boys being boys, man. You get drunk, you're going to start saying lascivious things. Now, Molly lets us know at the end of this episode she didn't really care. So it seemed like a womp womp, a non-issue. We have Molly and her boyfriend, who looks like a slimmed down version of Fabio, driving to the party. And she says that they've been together for over a year and she's never gotten along this well with somebody and opened her life to. Now, remember, isn't Molly like some form of a surgeon? Like, she has a real fucking gig. And so it is interesting to see people that have a real gig that also want a little slice of that reality show fame. And I feel like you really have to be careful what you wish for. Now, Shep goes over to pick up Molly, and Shep, he's in a Nehru jacket. He looks like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's like, of course, man. I didn't know if this, at first I got scared. I thought it was a Confederate soldier jacket. But you can tell he's really proud of this jacket. And he's also, guys, this is more character development. He grew a beard. He got grilled chicken earlier and he grew a beard. If this isn't character development, I don't know what is. But he looks good with the beard. I've got to give him props, right? Molly says, Molly says, I feel like I think I was calling, in that last scene, I think I was calling Sally Molly. Sorry if I was. Sorry. Sometimes they're just, these names take a second to learn, you guys. I'm not an expert, even though I pretend to be. Anyways, we're at Molly's place with Shep picking her up, but Molly says she feels like she's like going to prom right now. And you can tell she's nervous. And they're going to this party as like, dates. All the boys walk into this summer soiree event. We have Rodrigo. I love Rodrigo. I want to hear more from Rodrigo because if you follow Rodrigo online, he has some really cutting barbs. And I know this dude has an opinion and I want to see more of it. If you're going to have gay representation on shows, let's not, it doesn't have to, I don't mean as gay representation, but like what a great, it's like Michael's on Southern Hospitality or even Ryan on Southern Charm, who is a gay man as well. I like that representation, but I want to get him more in the action. Like Rodrigo would almost have been better in the phone call between JT and Vanita and the barber than Ryan was, right? So all the guys are showing up and, Craig looks like he's half-assing it. Sally shows up with Fabio. Everyone's like, good to see you, man. Good to see you. And Rodrigo says he's to Austin. He goes, I'm sweating my titties off. And Austin's like, tell me more. And then Rodrigo goes, speaking of titties. And Austin's like, good one. And I think that was about the conversation about Sally's boobs, right? I still feel bad that I think I missaid the name earlier and I'm going to get yelled at for that. Anyways, Taylor shows up. Leva's there, Vanita's there, and Vanita obviously is mad at Ryan for the barber thing, even though I don't think Ryan understands that Vanita is mad at him because he's new to reality TV. So it just seems like a lot of people standing around uncomfortable, not knowing where the scene is. They're like, who's got the ball? Who's got the hot potato? Where are we going? Where's the camera? Okay, what do we need to do? Is this the finale? Shouldn't we have already finished filming? Like, it just feels scattered. So Austin comes up to Sally and goes, hey, I just wanted to clear the air with you, perchance about your breastises. He goes, it came back around to me that I was like saying things in the Bahamas, maybe about like, and Sally's like, my boobs. And he's like, oh yeah, you get it. Okay. I was like, I thought we were laughing about your boobs, but I don't want to dismiss it completely. And Sally's like, no, it was in a very fun way about my boobs. No, everybody was talking about how I'm getting rid of them. We flash back to her doctor's appointment. And Sally's like, may I ask how it got brought to your attention? And Austin's like, well, Taylor texted me. Taylor did. And Sally's like, well, it really wasn't a big deal. I don't know why Taylor's trying to make it one because Taylor knows we have a show to film. So now we're obviously going to have this scene between Taylor and Sally eventually. Shep walks in with Molly. They look like $1 million of Kohl's cash right here. And Madison in a talking head's like, they look cute together. No. Why are we? I guess I know why we encourage this, but like, let's not like, oh man, they are going to be miserable together one day. That's what we should have started. Shep's getting compliments on his button-up jacket. Leva says they look great together. Taylor says, I think she can do better, obviously. Miss Patricia and Whitney come in. Whitney's giving the royal wave. Hello, it's me, Whitney Sadler Smith, and my madre, Miss Patricia. So now we go inside to the event. We had this awkward standing around. Now we're going to awkwardly stand around inside the event. So it's a little bit of, Shep and Molly are talking inside the party, and you realize, or I think Shep is realizing they actually do have a lot in common, because Molly says, oh, it's nice to be with a guy taller than me. I'm pretty tall. And Shep's like, well, it's also good to have sex with somebody taller. They could like pick you up, right? Unless you're dating somebody shorter, then I guess you could pick them up, right? But basically, I'm talking sex here. You know what I'm saying? We're talking sex. Where, you can just see the gears running in Shep's mind of like, you know what? I really think I could put my penis in her. I think should I? And also, how dare you? They give us the verbiage at the end that they like all of a sudden, the 2.5-year streak of not having sex has been broken for Molly. But like, how dare you, Southern Charm cameras, for not putting a camera on Shep and Molly afterwards? Like, I don't want the sex like we used to have in Summer House or Below Deck, but I do want a little like, how did the drive home go? Let's see the heavy petting. Let's see something to like, let's give action to this, right? Austin's talking to Miss Patricia, say he's rooting for Molly and Shep. Like, I feel like that just means you're rooting for a season 11 of this. Now, Sally comes over, interrupts a conversation that Taylor's having with Rodrigo's husband, and says, can I pull you? Can I pull you for a chat? Just like on The Bachelor. And so Sally's like, listen, I thought we both agreed to stay out of each other's business, and you're texting Austin and telling him that I'm coming after him? And Taylor's like, I did. Taylor always seems like not like a high level of shock, but still like, yeah, I did. She just it seems like a housewife that is so medicated up where they're just, because they realize they have to go into hell, like, for filming. But Sally goes, I never in no way, shape, or form have come after Austin. And Taylor's like, you were telling the girls that he asked to see your tits. And I was like, and Sally was like, well, he did. And Taylor's like, well, and not in a malicious kind of way. And Sally's like, no, I never said that he did say it in a malicious kind of way. And Taylor's like, well, I don't know how you phrased it to the other girls. And Sally's like, exactly, you don't know how I phrased it. By the way, I'm putting more energy into this reading than they're giving. But Sally's like, you took information and you related to him. And we see a shot of Miss Patricia and Madison watching this conversation of like, oh, we were young once. I remember my first fight on Southern Charm. Taylor said, what was relayed to me was Austin asked Sally to see her boobs. And I go, I don't think that he said that. And Sally's like, okay, but it was a very playful thing. A lot of other people contributed to wanting to see my boobs. And Taylor's like, well, if it was a playful thing, then why do you feel like you need to be like, I don't know, guys, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is such a low stakes BS thing that is a middle season episode at best. Taylor says she was coming at like a chihuahua. And now we have finally the scene of, we're going to have Vanita confront Ryan about the barbershop comment with JT. She's going to bring Leva into this because she doesn't want to do it by herself, right? And that's another thing. Vanita just seems like an overall kind-hearted person, which sometimes doesn't make for the most dynamic reality show character. Now, there is play in Vanita being the reliable narrator. You could like say, this is the one I trust. But she's gotten wrapped up in this JT thing where I think a lot of people are like, I don't fully understand. And even when the timelines are given, I'm like, I still don't like what? Okay, I know I already got the JT's a bad guy. Like, I will go there with you. I get it. I agree with you. But I'm like, I get a little confused with all of the details, but I agree with you. Yes. So Vanita just says, I don't like confrontation. It makes me uncomfortable. So I've chosen to do reality television to get me over the hump. And so they get into this back room, Ryan, Vanita, and Leva, and they're talking about it being a beautiful space. And Vanita finally is like, listen, I have Leva here as my support because the information that you gave about the barber and JT saying something derogatory about me was jarring and confusing, even though his haircut looked amazing, because like, I don't think JT's capable, she says, of saying the things that you said that he said to his barber, that you said that he said to his barber. At this point, why don't we just fucking give the barber a lead role on Southern Charm? So Ryan's like, that's not true. In a talking head, he says, I believe in always telling the truth when it's your truth to tell. At this moment where I've seen my friend telling me she's in love with JT, and this information I've been given, of course, I'm going to share it with her. So he says, hey, listen, this barber is a friend. He obviously he's going to want a clean house. So I get why then he would spin it. He's talking about JT. And Leva is like, well, he was just telling me what JT said to him. So he didn't say that. He said that to you. So now we're getting into semantics about the barber said it to you, but JT didn't send it to him. And then Madison comes in to check, but she gets like ushered away. Rodrigo comes in. They're like, oh, what's going on here? Miss Patricia kind of walks in, tries to do a little tap, tap, tap. It's Miss Patricia. And she's like, I have to go. I have to leave. This is boring as fuck. I'm out of here. We're going to go spray tan Whitney. I got to go. I love Miss Patricia's like the audience. We got to go. We got our lives to lead. So she says her goodbyes. The camera stops for this. Madison takes her out. We're back to this scene. So Leva's explaining reality TV to Ryan, saying if there's a group and this happens, they're going to pile on it. We know that you guys don't like JT, but is he really a liar? And Ryan's like, I'm going to be direct with both of you. And Leva does the reality, let me finish. And Ryan goes, well, you're not finishing though. Woo! Okay, Ryan, that's a little play, right? Ryan goes, I don't know why you're talking about any of it, to be honest. And Leva's like, Ryan, let's take it down a notch, which is going to be my ringtone because she says my name. And Ryan's like, no, I don't need to take it down. I'm standing up for myself and responding. He's not saying it with his full throat, though. His full chest isn't in it. So Vinny's like, wait. Hello. We cut to commercial. We come back. And Rodrigo's like, I don't think, Ryan, you necessarily are trying to start shit. And Ryan's like, listen, I don't want more opinions in here, Rodrigo. This is between us. Okay? And Rodrigo's like, okay, stepping away. And Leva starts stepping away as well. So now we got Vanita and Ryan, the showdown of the century, LOL. So Vanita's like, why would Ryan do this? He says to Ryan, well, why would you do this? And Ryan's like, can I speak on what my barber said to me? And it may not have been what JT said. Only JT knows that, Vanita. But my intent was not to be hurtful. But if you were to sit here and tell me I want to be with JT and I love JT and everything, I would say I respect it, but I am concerned for you because of this guy's record, which is fair. Vanita and talking to says, I'm friends with Ryan. I'm also friends with JT. But Ryan is also part of the Everyone Hates JT squad. Like, we can't have him around. We can't do anything. We can't mingle with him. Nothing. Which, by the way, if we had that same attitude in earlier seasons of Southern Charm, this show would not exist. Because all of the characters had a list of bad things that they were doing, right? But Vanita says, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle. It's a hard place to be in with this group. That's the end of the conversation. They hug and kind of walk away. I'm like, this is where it feels so weird. Vanita's hugging Madison and Ryan's going back to his husband. And it's just bizarre. Shep and Molly are dancing horribly. Austin comes up to Craig and he's like, I don't want to make this weird, but I feel more connected to you, brother, than I ever have. Just the tip, man. I feel so connected. And Craig's loud. By the way, this is the kind of adulation and hand jerking that Craig needs. He's like, sorry to weird you out, Craig, but like, and Craig's like, it's not weird. I'm like, well, it's a little weird, but it's nice. Austin says, I can't help but smile about it in a talking head because it's like, man, I feel like it's a good feeling to feel that like we're healing. Craig says, we haven't been this close since you and Audrey started to date. I haven't gotten to ask you about it. Like, she good in bed? Like, what's going on, man? I never really had a spot to ask you before because we weren't getting along, you know? And Austin says, I genuinely need and love her presence. I thought he was talking about Craig at first, but he's talking about Audrey. And Craig's like, yeah, that's the best thing ever when you need that. Like Paige and I, when we have quiet time on the couch, we don't mean it, but you're just like scrolling your phone. We're just happy, dude. You know, like now people will say that she was probably just paying attention to other things inside of me, but I just thought we were really happy in that moment. And Austin says, I think that 2024 is the year that I propose. And Craig's like, yeah. And then Craig's like, well, 99% confident that I'm going to propose this year. Yeah. And I think we're both very excited about it. Paige as well, sure. Even though we have her on camera not being excited many times. So, yeah. So Molly and Shep are still flirting. And Sally says she loves it because Molly's actually into it. Molly's open to it. And Shep needs this win, right? Shep needs a win. So they're all staring at Molly and Shep, and they're like, will she kiss him? Will she kiss him? And she leans over and kisses him. And Austin's like, oh my God, she kissed him. Whoa. And Shep, you can just see all the megalodon tooth, come out of his head. It's like purging his system. And Craig's like, yes, amazing. And now they're like, finger blaster, dude. Yeah, do it. Take her top off. So dumb. Molly flips off the group, say, leave me alone. And we close with like a heart over them. And all of a sudden, the flashing of the screen says 2 hours later. And we see fireworks popping, and it says Molly's dry spell ended. So by the way, this is a suggestion for Southern Charm too. It would have been funnier if it said 5 minutes later, Molly's dry spell ended, because Shep's like a 2-minute man. Like, wouldn't that have been 5 minutes later with fireworks? But then we get the verbiage 2 months later. And this is going to be the big kind of wrap up. It says JT and Vanita started dating until ... And then we see pictures of JT with another girl, long overdue, with a heart emoji. Vanita unfollowed JT and they haven't spoken since ... 5 months later ... And we hear Paige on Giggly Squad saying, Craig and I have decided to separate. And we see pictures of them to no longer be together. And we see all of these. Wait, is that my meme? Wait, is that me? Did they put? No, that's not me, is it? Oh, that meme looks familiar. Anyways. And we have like Paige saying, Paige talking. And then all of a sudden we see Craig, lonely man, walking on the streets of Charleston with like a blue sweater and a diet soda in his hand. And we see Shep and Austin telling Shep going, I was in the Caribbean. Oh, no, sorry. Shep goes, I was in the Caribbean and I got a message from, of course, Rodrigo. Have you seen the news? Holy shit. We see Craig slowly walking up Austin's steps. And Austin telling Shep, I think there were cracks, but I think that Craig was like, not enough to like terminate the relationship. Craig slowly stepping up the steps. Doom, doom, doom. Shep says, I just feel bad for the guy, And Shep's like, doesn't sound like he was driving this bus. Doesn't sound like he was being a real man in this relationship. We flash forward to like Craig in the house going, Paige and I had a great Thanksgiving together. Everything was normal at her parents, like our chemistry and everything. Like, then a couple weeks later, she called me and was like, already the narrative is not what the narrative that has been presented by Paige of they broke up the weekend after Thanksgiving, like what I pictured a Monday. So he's saying a couple weeks later. So Craig says a couple weeks later, she said, we got to talk. And Shep's like, ooh, I hate that verbiage. And Austin's like, prior to Christmas? He's like, yeah. Like I knew. Dramatic music. So Craig's like, I can't believe this was happening. But it was really calm. She's like, I need to like find myself. And she's like, I have to take control of my life again. And we need to break up. And when it happened, like the only people that I wanted to tell was like you guys and So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. And then he points to Austin and you specifically, because we were crossing paths. But the truth is, like, I couldn't let it get out yet. And it was a bummer because I was like, I don't know if I can tell Austin and him not say anything. Because he's such a yenta. He's such a yapper with that mouth. Shep's like, were you waiting for her to go public with this? And Craig's like, yeah. And Shep's like, you were. And he was like, I wasn't going to fucking say anything. Because I didn't want it to be real, dude. She asked me to buy her a ring. And like, I did. Okay, this is a little hazy too. Like, have we seen the ring? Like, I believe that he would have hopped out and got the ring. But did he buy the ring? But he says, I went to New York. I designed this whole thing. I'm shocked Kyle Chan jewelry design wasn't a part of it. And Austin was like, or Shep's like, when was that? He's like, before last summer. So he's had this ring a long time. And then Craig goes, then she was actually like, hold off. Looking back, maybe that was her starting to panic or freak out. Yeah, I mean, looking back, sure. Yeah, when somebody, if this is to be believed, if somebody tells you to buy the ring and then says, you know what, second thought, hold off. Yeah, maybe you sign. Craig goes, it's tough because I offered to move to New York like she asked me and to raise kids in Manhattan. And she was like, you will resent me forever if you have to live this life in New York. It almost sounds like Paige was throwing up roadblocks and he was like, hey, this is not a roadblock. I love it. Let's do it. And she's like, fuck, what else am I going to do? Like, shit, what do I do? I'm gay. That's what it is. I'm gay. Craig goes, I just think it's so rare for like a love to come around. We were best friends. We loved each other. We had a great sex life. We just checked so many boxes that you're like, where the fuck am I going to find? Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to give this up? It's weird to like mourn somebody that's still alive, which we've heard Craig say before. And I think it's a very, very dead on sentiment about former relationships. So that was the big pickup scene, which I think could have been way better. Way longer too, and way more information, but I guess we're going to save some of that for the reunion, and we're also going to save some of it for Summer House. But then the after show, we have Vanita explaining more of the JT stuff, but I think, we'll get really into that in the reunion. But we also have Shep going, I don't fucking give a shit about some talk show in regards to Giggly Squad. She never filmed with us. Well, that's not gonna. You think that's gonna fly in a relationship I have? No, siree, Bob. I'm a man. She didn't want anything to do with us. And then we even have like Miss Patricia, like she never gave Charleston a chance, which is probably true to some degree. But like Southern Charm Fortress holding strong in the Battle of Southern Charm and Summer House. We are just amping. Like we are gonna go toe to toe at BravoCon. It's gonna be so intense to watch. And by the way, Andy, if you're listening, you are not listening, but if you were, I suggest a Southern Charm Summer House panel, like a Summer House versus Southern Charm panel, and we fucking get into it, dude. We have a cage match right in the middle. It's like squash your beef, but they go into the cage. One person goes out. Like we just decimate both casts. I'm going to think it through a little bit more. I don't, now that I'm thinking, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I want it to be intense because it deserves to be. And then we film that. And we make that a special on Bravo for the people that couldn't go to BravoCon. But, Shep's like, Shep has such a interesting slash throwback way of looking at females and feminism. And, I want to say throwback, but I hope it's not something that's rearing its ugly head again, which sometimes in a way it feels like it is. Shout out Tate Brothers. And you just wonder, you're like, who are they listening to? Like, to me, the Paige thing, even if you don't like Paige, makes sense. Yes, it still hurts. Yes, we like Craig. Yes to all of these things. But obviously, seeing it laid out, you're like, oh, this is pretty obvious. This is pretty obvious that it wasn't going to work for her. And he would have made it work. But I do think there is some leverage, not leverage, but some play in. He would have resented her eventually. This man, it literally has pussy and dick thrown at his way every hour of the day, I'm sure, but I get it. It's tough. He really thinks he loved her, and he did love her, and he probably does still love her. But I think he was putting undue pressure on somebody that was not wanting to be in a pressure-filled relationship. And you can start someplace in a relationship, and you can end completely different. And that's okay. It's not illegal to do that. And it's grown up. I mean, some people will just stay in that relationship for years and years and years until they both fully hate each other so much. And yes, we will have missed out on that in reality television. But anyways, that's the Southern Charm. Now let's go on over to the Summer House. And by the way, my final sentiment about Southern Charm, Bapa Boo. Bapa Boo, Bapa BBB. Boo. Not a great finale, but I will never stop watching you.